Frank's Red Hot is the perfect blend of flavor and heat, so you can use an entire bottle to make recipes like buffalo chicken dip or buffalo nachos, or even things that don't start with buffalo. Frank's Red Hot, I put that on everything.
Craig, what in the actual fuck did we actually watch on Saturday?
I wish I could remember, that fucking night in September. It was the worst fucking day.
God.
Oh my God.
Thanks for making me smile just a little bit.
I had already planned to use that song, because it's the 21st of September. And so I was like, oh, it'll be perfect. I'm going to use it and talk about how we're winning. Yeah,
right. Yeah. Talk about how we won and how we're going to be undefeated going to play Utah. And God damn it.
This is awful. This is Podcast versus Everyone. I'm Craig Powers. With me is Jeff Newser. We are, I don't know, where are you at, Jeff? Mad, sad, all the above?
I've written the first 1,200 words of my column, which is always the part that takes the longest. And I just kind of had a bunch of stuff floating around in my head that I've gotten down. So I feel like I've kind of processed some of my grief, probably quicker than I thought I would. Mostly I'm just, fucking pissed. I'm mad. I'm not sad. I'm not like, oh boy, I'm just like, no, that was some bullshit, and that should never have happened. And I'm sure we'll talk about this, but I haven't wavered much off my position from Saturday night, which is you got to look seriously at changing the defensive coaching staff at the end of this year. That's like the stink of giving up 50 points and a half to one of the worst offenses in all of FBS will never be washed off this staff ever. And so as you can see, I'm actually more pissed than I thought I was. It's not being helped by the fact that I had the worst fucking sports weekend ever. Seahawks lost, went to that game today. Sounders got shut out again. Boy, that was exciting. And my fantasy football teams are both about to lose to the high scores in the two leagues that I'm in. That's a weekend, Craig. About the only thing that could have made it worse is if I had driven to Pullman. So how you doing?
Today was the worst 5.5 hour drive thanks to traffic on the pass. Just by myself. I had no one with me. Alone with my thoughts in the car.
Oh, God.
It was just miserable. I stopped 3 times. Usually I might stop once to pee and maybe get gas or something. I don't know, and get something to eat. But
right. You just want to get home,
And I stopped at the rest stop that's at the 395 interchange. And I just got back to the car and I was just like, I don't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to stay here. I'm going to go lay down in a wheat field. Maybe the world will forget about me.
Go to sleep, and maybe when you wake up, it won't be real.
Yeah.
Except it's real.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was rough.
I woke up in the middle of the night last night. No joke. I woke up, and because I was up until close to 1, right in the recap, which was its own little adventure. And, I went to bed and I woke up at, 3 or 3:30 or whatever. And, I had to pee and drank a bunch of beer during the game. And I'm woke up and for a moment I forgot about the game. And then in the next moment I remembered the game. And then all of a sudden I went, oh shit, it actually happened, didn't it? It really happened. It's like somewhere my brain was trying to be no, that couldn't have happened. And then it remembered, no, this is real. This is real. As I'm staring here at my screen that says 67-63, it was real.
Yeah, I was with BA and we were. It's funny. I stormed out of the game. I told my buddy, I'm like, I gotta go right now. I was sitting up at the club seats with my friend, and we were having fun for 2.5 quarters.
Yeah.
And then it just started turning, and then that was just such a long, elongated, like miserable experience, because you just kind of felt it. Once they I think got it to about 49-38, you were like, oh God, this might happen, and it just kept getting worse from there. And so and I just stormed out. Like, I've never stormed out of Martin like that. I just was like, see you later. And I just like was gone. And I went back to the tailgate, and I was just going to grab my cooler and throw it in my car and then walk back to my hotel. But I just ended up sitting on it I grabbed a beer out of it and sat on it. And I was the first one back to the tailgate. And then I just was like, I don't know what to do. And then people started showing up, and I was like, oh, I'll just hang. And basically, BA and I talked about the game for maybe an hour, and then it was just like, let's talk about anything else in the entire world. So we ended up having a good time till way too late, or early, if you want to say. Just trying to process. It felt a lot like Portland State, except that was like a early, like a morning game,
right?
And you just had the whole day to just like
right. At least on this one, you got to go to sleep, kind of.
No, but I didn't. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, I mean, and that game was super long too. Like, that was
my buddy that I was sitting with, he was driving back to Yakima after the game, and he was planning on, he figured he'd be in the road by 10:30, and that game got over like 11:30. Yeah,
it was near 4 hours.
Well,
I
the
think
second
the official
half itself was
the official time was 3:52 or something like that. So
there were what, 78 points scored in the second half.
Yeah, 130 points total.
Yeah, it was.
There will be basketball games this year without 130 points total.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just. Oh, Craig. So this is, so I got to be honest. Like, I was like leaning toward just being like, no, we're not recording an episode. I don't want to talk about this. I just want to pretend it didn't happen. Like, no. And so this is sort of like our therapy session, right? Like,
yeah.
And as I'm listening to you and you're listening to me, and what I'm feeling is like our emotions are actually quite, like, maybe not really different, but like, you're a little more morose, and I'm more angry than I realized. Like,
I was you were
probably
super
angry
last night.
I
at the game, I was just getting more pissed. Like, the whole fourth quarter, I was screaming.
Yeah,
I was screaming at the field. I was screaming at everything. Like, people around me were like, "Holy shit!" And then when at first it looked like Aesop got that first down that would have made UCLA use their timeouts, and
right.
And then we're realizing that he fumbled, and a lot of people were looking at the replay like, "Oh, he didn't fumble." I'm like, he very clearly fumbled. What are you talking about? Like, you guys are in denial.
They called him down at first, and I was on Slack, and I was within like a second of the play, I was like, that's going to get reviewed, and it's a fumble, and we're toast. Like, I was like, no, I saw it clear as day.
But yeah, after the touchdown, and then Gordon gets sacked, fumble. I threw my hat on the ground and screamed, and then immediately walked out. Like, I was so fucking mad. I remember I heard someone, when I was walking out, I heard someone say, "I can't believe we blew a 30-point lead." And I go, it was 32
32
points.
Yeah, not even 30, 32. Did you, so when they got the ball back, did you, like, were you thinking, all right, they got this,
let them score? Oh yeah, when they got there wasn't that
well,
much
yeah,
time.
But I mean, the drive before that, they'll let them score. I was saying the same thing.
I was just like, let them score on the first play. It's
score.
inevitable, but they ran a minute off the clock, and you're like, come on. I thought
we had 0 timeouts. Thanks, Coach.
I don't know. At that point, I was in such a state of dread and shock. Like,
but
I was like, they can do this. 69 seconds is plenty of time. UCLA's defense is objectively terrible.
Yeah.
Especially pass defense. Although we were moving the ball at will on them at anytime, any point. Just the only thing that would stop us is fumbles.
Right.
Which, by the way, there was 5 fumbles in the game, and UCLA recovered every single one of them.
All of them.
Every single one.
Every single one.
How many fucking how can that many wide receiver fumbles happen by 3 different wide receivers? Like, it's insane. Also, Roderick Fisher's was not a fumble, but whatever. We can get into that.
But and every single one of them happened where the receiver was like trying to gain more yards.
Yeah, that's what we
do.
Like,
that's admirable.
What they teach.
That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, granted, maybe they weren't squeezing it as hard as they should have, or whatever. I mean, whatever. But it's like, it's not like they were just sort of being super careless, or they just, dropped the ball while they were running. Like, they were trying to do what they do. And anyway, yeah, I mean, I thought, when we got the ball back, I thought minute 7, like in college.
Yeah, we can do it.
I mean, not easy,
especially
but totally doable.
How we'd been moving the ball.
Yeah, totally doable. Gordon was dicing them up, and
I mean,
like
Borgie scored in one play, like the
65
the
yards
drive before or whatever.
Yeah.
So not the drive before, but two drives previous.
Right.
Like they. It was just like, man, crazy. I don't know.
I don't know. Like, I don't know either. Like I've been trying to.
I've had a lot of like today, just those random like where you sigh and shake your head.
Yeah.
Because like it'll just pop back in your mind. I can't stop.
Totally.
I can't stop thinking about it.
100%.
I'm trying not to think about it. We watched an episode of Killing Eve, which is a great show, by the way, if you've never watched it. And that was nice because it was like super intense, but still, like I was like 80% watching this show.
Yeah.
And 20% like 49-17.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
49-17, 9 touchdown passes. Oh my God.
I got on the Sounder train today to ride up to the Seahawks with my dad, and I think I've mentioned this on the podcast, but if I haven't, my dad's a Husky fan, so he sometimes will say things that rub me the wrong way, but he's generally pretty nice to me, unless it's an apple cup. And I got on the train, and the first thing he says is, "So," and I'm like, "I don't want to talk about it. I'm just like shutting it down right off. I'm like, I do not want to talk about that. I'd rather talk about anything. I'd rather talk about how the renovation of my backyard is still not finished after 3 months. Like, I'll talk about that before I want to talk about this crazy shithouse football game." And then, of course, I ended up talking about it later.
Yeah.
I just couldn't stop.
I got like, random friends who like mostly like beer nerd friends that know me as like the Coug guy, like messaging me during the game what was happening, and after the game, like trying to poke me, and I basically was just like to anyone, I was like, fuck off, don't fucking say anything to me.
Just don't.
Like, if you think it's okay
it's
to
not
if you think it's okay to poke me right now, then you don't really know me that well, like because you don't know how much this affects me. Like, it's ridiculous, but it fucking, like, it was like a traumatic event. Like, it was fucking awful. Like, I don't want to downplay like traumatic events that people go through, but
like actual traumatic events.
In WSU we've had that recently, but but still, from a football fan perspective, that's about as bad as it gets.
Oh, dude, no, it's as bad as it gets. Yeah. It's not even about as bad. This is as bad as it gets. Like, I can't. People were throwing out some other stuff, like trying to figure out, was this bad or that bad?
Everyone brings up 2014 Cal, and the nature of the high scoring is what people do. But we never had a huge lead against Cal in 2014.
No, and
maybe like a 2-touchdown lead at one point, but like nothing like the game is over lead. No, like, this is over. We're crushing them. We're moving at will. We had scored. We went on a run where we scored a 35-7 run to get it to 49-17. We came out 2 touchdowns right away in the second half. Yeah. We were burying them. We were fucking burying them. The game was over. Yeah, like, it was over, and everyone, the students were gone. Half the alumni were gone. Like, it was a late game. They're getting back on the road. People were checked out. People were having fun. There was people just chatting. But then UCLA scored 28 points in fucking
about 30 seconds.
30 seconds, and suddenly just the mood changed, and it was just so tense, and just people were angry, and you know, you wish on some of those last drives that the house was still full and we could have went full throat, and because, you know, we were screaming and yelling by the end, just trying to, you know, do our stupid part, but whatever. But, you know, you just wish the students were still there.
Yeah.
But I kind of, it's like, I sent out a tweet that said, like, hey students, congrats on leaving at halftime. It kind of was like double-sided in that, like, yeah, it was kind of a dig at them, but it was mostly like, I'm jealous of you for leaving, because that was a miserable experience.
Yeah.
Like, it was just not fun. I felt bad because I was watching with one of my best friends, and we haven't watched a game together in a couple of years, and we were really excited to do that. And it was just like, fuck, man. We were having so much fun, and then he got a picture with Gardner Minshew before the game. It was,
man.
Oh, by the way, man, yeah, the vibes were so good. Like, they kept they had Gardner on the field.
Oh yeah, he was all over the broadcast.
The Alamo Bowl team, you know, whatever. And then, like, and you know, you could, the joy in Glenn's voice when he's like, Jacksonville Jaguars starting quarterback Gardner Minshew, and it was just like, it was a party.
Place went bonkers.
Everyone was just so excited, and then it just all went to shit. And now we talk about, you know, we're always just waiting for the other shoe to drop, but holy shit, like, it just dropped over the span of 5 minutes. Yeah. And then I don't even know. I don't even have a structure to this. I think we're just going to talk through it.
Yeah. I mean, as I was writing the recap, like, I was sitting there watching. Okay, so typically, like, you know this, but the listeners might not. When I write the recap, I do most of the recaps, right, for the games, because I'm usually home and whatever. It's easier for me. And when I do the recaps, you know, sometimes people are like, wow, I'm so amazed at how quickly you get it done after the game. That's because I typically just, like, at halftime is when I'll open it up. There's some pictures that usually get uploaded during halftime, so I pick one of those. I usually just write a little bit about what happened in the first half.
Right. Yeah, I've done the same thing before.
Yeah. And then as the game goes on, you just kind of add as it goes. It's really nice when there's some tweets with some video, and you just, you know, put those in there, and, you know, throw in some final stats at the end, put the final score in, and you can usually publish within the last 10 minutes. When that game ended last night, I had nothing. Well, let me rephrase. At one point, I had number 19 WSU uses big second quarter to surge past UCLA. Like, that was a headline that I had written for a while, you know. And if any of you out there, like, I ruined it because I tempted the football gods, I do that all the time. Okay.
Every writer does it.
I do it all the time, and we don't always do this. Okay.
You have to do narrative building. I mean, like, it's really hard if you're writing to just write free without any sort of narrative.
Right.
Like, you have to have a narrative to start out with, otherwise you're going to get stuck.
So that was the thing at the end of the game. I'm like, what do I even do right now? Like, it wasn't even just like, I can't believe that happened. It was like, okay, I'm going to have to go back and sort of reconstruct how this happened, because I couldn't even, like you said, like, you're sort of building this narrative, right? And so you gotta, and that's where, and it's not like these recaps are super narrative heavy, because, you know, you're just sort of like, you know, recapping. It's
for the sake of the reader. It's more interesting to read.
Yeah, but the headline, the lead, you know, maybe the first few paragraphs kind of hit on a narrative, and then you know, you try to bring it back around at the end. Great. And like there was nothing. I'm like, I mean, outside of, you know, we fucking blew the game. Like, I'm sitting here like, how do I and not only that, like, I can't write a paragraph about every single touchdown that was scored. Right. So I'm thinking, okay, well, what am I going to hit on? What am I going to leave out? And that's why I was up so late, because I was just like, I don't even know. like I'm going to have to go back and try to reconstruct. And in fact, at one point I had forgotten about our touchdown that put us up 49-17. I thought it was 42-17, and then they started coming back. And then all of a sudden I looked at the box score and I was like, oh wait, we had another touchdown. It was just like, you know, Like, I finally, I think, put together something reasonably coherent. I only made one factual error. I shorted Aesop Winston a touchdown. Sorry, Aesop, for only saying you got 3 touchdowns instead of 4. And I'm not even sure how I wrote that thing, to be honest.
I don't know either. We were talking after the game, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to be like. I just had to.
I didn't want to do it.
BA and I usually do our we do our sort of like, our post game briefing together. Usually at the tailgate afterwards. Like, it's kind of our tradition, just to kind of go through what happened, and we did that, and it was just angry, and oh man, just you're because at this point you're in a state of shock, and you can't because. You hold on hope throughout as it's happening that we're just going to pull out of this, and it's just going to be a funny story. Like, holy shit, we're going to get to, like, we'll drop 70 and that'll be funny, but we literally had to drop 70 to win that game. Like, we had to get to 70. We had to get that last touchdown to get to 70 to win the game. Like, it was like, you kind of knew it. Like, when UCLA was just scoring and scoring and scoring, you're like, this game's going to be in the 60s. And we're probably going to have to get to 70 to win. And I guess we would have had to get to 68, but it would have been 70. But it's insane. Like, completely. And when they got that ball at the last, I'm like, God, it'd be so great if they scored now. And they got to 70, and we were celebrating, and we it was a big sigh of relief when we go back. But man,
right. And then by the way, at that point we also talk ourselves into everything's fine. Because that's what we would do. We'd be like, "Oh, the first half was great. Everything's fine." Well, and everything is not like, fucking fine.
Yeah, because if we come back and win, we're like, God, the defense is atrocious. But man, and what the offense probably is ceilings even higher than we thought. Like, from an explosion perspective, like, this is the most explosive. This has got to be the most explosive offense that Leach has had at WSU. Like, it's easily the most. Like, this is more explosive than 2014. Like, this is crazy explosive offense. Like. Anthony Gordon threw for 9 fucking touchdown passes.
9.
We didn't even realize that he was doing that during the game. Like, during the game, we're like, after he got his 8th, someone goes, "Holy shit, that was his 8th touchdown." We're like, he just set the fucking school record that Gardner set 4 games ago. Right. Like, and that's insane. Right. And he tacked on another. And another. So he's at 9 touchdowns, but he had to get 10 to win. Right. It's like when Connor Holiday threw for 714 yards, but he needed 715 to win, or whatever it was.
Exactly.
It's like fucking crazy. Like, the fucking defense was I know that they were put in some tough positions. I know that the ball was, they were on the field a lot in the second half. But what the fuck? That doesn't excuse giving up 50 goddamn points in half. Well, 2 of them were 36 points, 2 punt returns, or a punt return and a kickoff return for a touchdown. And the offense had its failures in the turnovers, but those were less about execution. Those are less, serious glaring issues than just kind of random bullshit that happened. Like fucking you fumble 4 times, you lose all of them. 3 almost identical fumbles, like, it just in the same spot on the field. Like, it was like so crazy. And but God, the defense was a disaster. Like, we were afraid that they weren't that good, but that was just insane. Like, UCLA, we talked about in the preview, was last in the country in yards per play. Last in all of FBS. Worse than the worst of the Sun Belt. Worse than anyone.
Worse than New Mexico State, who played us and played Alabama.
UCLA was averaging 4.1 yards a play. They averaged 8.8, same as us. 8.8 that game. They averaged 20 yards of completion. Like, 13 yards an attempt overall. 20 yards a completion. Just chunk plays. I mean, that 95-yard touchdown helped that, obviously, but that 95-yard touchdown happened. That kid fucking...
As did the 60-yard Hail Mary, which also happened.
We talked about in the preview how Felton was probably their most explosive player, and holy shit was he. kickoff return for a touchdown, 95-yard touchdown, got the game winner on a screen, which was not covered in any way. Like you saw, like from my vantage point, I'm on the the opposite end of the stadium from where UCLA was scoring a touchdown. You see him throw it out to the right. It's like 3rd and 15, right?
Yeah.
You see him throw it out to the right, and there is one WSU player over there. And 3 UCLA blockers. Like we were like, well, that's a fucking touchdown. Like at least they scored now. But at that point, you're hoping just stop them on this 3rd down, which they had done just before. Mm-hmm. Just stop them on this 3rd down. It's tied. At worst, we're going to overtime. Like we can still, like our offense is still amazing. We can still win this game. But fuck, they just came out very first play, sack, fumble. That's fitting. Like I feel like games like that always end like that.
Oh,
like
and it was so fitting too because they hadn't gotten any real pressure on Gordon all night long.
And just
then it's like, and then all of a sudden, this dude, this team who had not done anything, blows past the left tackle, and Gordon. I mean, no chance. Right? Like the only chance he had is if somehow he, had already gone to a hot read or something, but there was no reason for him to go to a hot read because UCLA rushed 4 and dropped 7. And of course, with a minute left, he's looking to work the ball downfield. He's not trying to dump off for 5 yards because that's, you're going to lose 15, 20 seconds off the clock if you do that. So he's trying to let something develop down the field. And like the last thing he's going to expect is that Liam Ryan lets a dude run by him untouched. And it's like, I was like, this is the most poetic end to this thing. Cause it's like, that shouldn't have happened. That should never happen. It hasn't happened all night. And then it happens. Right,
it's like hurting. It's like taking the gun out for the wounded animal, dude. Like just like
kinda.
No, you don't need this last minute 9. Let's just end it now.
Yeah, let's
just end your misery right now. Like don't need. Let's not do this. Like, will they score? Won't they score? We'll just end it right away, and like we'll just take the gun out and shoot you in the head, and that's it. And then
you talked about the fumbles, and it's like, okay, how many times did Luke Falk put the ball on the ground and one of our linemen jumped on it? Right. Like 1,000 times, seemingly. And it's like, so this time, Liam Ryan's right there, except he's like a split second too late to cover up the fumble. And it's just like, I had to restrain myself last night because Sarah's.
Well, I had to restrain myself because I was just in public, God. And I'm like, I know you can go a little while, but I was like, I could be. That's why I had to leave because I would have just screamed. Like,
luckily, like Sarah's dad was here, and so I felt like compelled to not do and say all the things that were going through my head. It was funny too because he was very nice about it. Like he's not a football fan or anything. And so after the game is over, I'm just like, I take my computer, I shut the screen. I'm going to go walk upstairs to write my recap. I pick up my beer glass, my empty beer cans, which, by the way, the beer I had was spectacular. I had this like Revision Brewing playification. Yeah, it was fantastic. And I'm picking up like the remnants, and I'm just like silent. And I'm like, this is bad. And he just looks at me and goes, "Sorry, Bubba." I'm just like, I'm okay. And I'm like trudged upstairs, and God bless him, he had the good sense to not say another word to me. And that was that. So, yeah. Yeah,
dude, it's crazy. So I was just like, I'm totally like, I get some anxiety, and I've dealt with that in my life, but I've always like, I really like hoodies. They're like a coping mechanism for me. Mm-hmm. And so I had my anthracite hoodie on, but the whole fourth quarter I had the hoodie up and my hat like pulled down as far down. And I was just like in a fucking fetal position in my seat, just like barely talking to my friend and then just popping up to scream at some point, celebrating when Max scored the touchdown to give us a lead back. And then getting up to scream on defense sometimes, but it was just like, I was just like, I can't handle this right now. Like I need I need my hoodie on to like, it's like, it was just bad. Like it was just so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's crazy is like everyone was so worried about our run defense, and the run defense was fine.
Yeah.
It was the fucking pass defense.
4
out of
yards
nowhere.
per rush. That was it.
Yep. Yeah. Joshua Kelly had 20 carries for 94 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and obviously DTR broke off a couple big runs, but he wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that at all. It was the fucking passing game. The secondary was a disaster.
Total disaster.
We were not getting hardly any pressure on him.
No.
Not enough. Not like, and they were over pursuing when they did, like, so, cause he would just, kind of take a step over and get out of it. He definitely looked a little more athletic in this game than he has. But maybe that's just what our defense does.
Yeah,
like the rush defense was fine, and we thought that UCLA would just run, and that would be the issue. But no, they just threw the ball 500 yards on 38 attempts, on 507 yards on 25 completions, 507 yards.
Like, we can't even underscore how, like it's impossible to oversell how bad that is.
And going into the game, they were giving up roughly a sack every 10 dropbacks. 39 dropbacks, 1 sack.
Right.
Or
and
probably more than that.
Sack,
probably like 45 if you're counting the runs and stuff. But
the 1 sack was a jailbreak blitz on the next to last drive as they were going down to score, which they didn't end up scoring. Obviously, we stopped them. But it took that to finally get a sack, and it's not like he was under pressure all night. Like, it was.
He's not that good. Like, he's not that good.
He's not that good. They're not that good. Like, it's our fans who are doing a whole lot of rationalizing about the defense right now, and I guess maybe we can what, we need to take a commercial break. Can we take a commercial break? And then we'll go in on the defense.
Yep.
All right. Okay, we're back. Look, our fans are doing a whole lot of rationalizing about the defense right now, and I suspect it's because I've really been thinking this through, because I've seen a whole lot of like, well, the offense did turn it over 6 times and really put the defense in a bad spot. And I'm like, are you fucking joking me?
The offense also scored 63
the offense
points.
also scored 63 fucking points. Like, even if you take out the 2 special teams touchdowns, the defense just had to hold UCLA to like 49 points. And
UCLA scored 4 touchdowns in a 7-play span. Like, they scored in the third and fourth quarter. Like, there was 7 plays, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah,
that's bad defense. That doesn't matter where you are on the field. One of those plays was a 94-yard touchdown. Like, that has nothing to do with what the offense was doing. It's just like this just flat out. They played a really shitty offense and got absolutely run over. Thrown over. But it's just, oh my God, like that's. And what's crazy is they were doing a fine enough job for 2.5 quarters. They had given up 10 points and then 7 on a kick return. So 7 on a kick return, 10 points. Those were all in the first quarter. So they went then there was a kick return in the second quarter. That fucking Hail Mary, Jesus, that almost was.
Yeah.
Maybe that was like our sign of things to come.
Maybe.
That was a hell of a throw, by the way. But anyways, I don't think they expected him to make that throw. But anyway, so so you're thinking, oh, the defense is doing fine, and honestly, they could have been just bad the rest of the way, and there's couldn't have given up the lead, even with the turnovers. Like, they had to be horrible to give that up, and it's just like I don't know how to explain it, given how they performed in 14 and a half quarters leading up to this, other than they took they kind of shut it down, and they just were like, whatever, like we're fine, and that's fucking annoying. Like, because we talk about the toughness of this team and how like nothing gets to them. Well, apparently they fucking, I don't know. I hate saying shit like this, but it just feels like the only way this happens is if the defense kind of was coasting. Like,
oh yeah,
that this it's so fucking frustrating.
Look, I wrote about pretty much what you're talking about, and we did not talk about this before the podcast. So like, I wrote about this when I was, like I said, when I was kind of this morning, got up, did a little bit of writing before I went to the Seahawks. I just had all this stuff in my head. I wrote that I'm 100% confident that they thought it was impossible to lose this game. That at some point, whether before the game or when they were up, 49 to 17 or whatever it was, at some point they decided, okay, we're done. We can't lose. Like, it's over. And it was definitely not over. And I just like, I'm really struggling with this idea that people want to excuse the defense, or at the very least sort of be like, oh, it's not, they just, the turnovers or whatever. And I'm like, I guess, okay, so number one, I don't think people are giving proper credit to just how bad it was. And sometimes, you can do that by putting numbers in context. So here's a number for you. CFBstats.com goes back to 2009. So it goes back to 3 of the 4 Wolf years, and then all of the Mike Leach years. 13.3 yards per attempt by the quarterback is the most allowed, I believe. Let me check one more thing. Yep, that was it. Okay, so 13.3 is the most.
More than Marcus Mariota in
2014 when he had 13.2.
More than Jared Goff. More than like some great Pac-12 quarterbacks that we've played.
Jared Goff only went for 9.9.
Yeah,
only 9.9. But that year we also had USC went for 12.5. Oregon State went for 10.2. And then if you go back to 2009, the other one that was really close was the Hawaii-Seattle game. 13.2 yards per attempt. Still less than what we gave up yesterday. And not only that, like when we were talking about these other numbers, these are prolific offenses. Like that Hawaii team back in 2009, like they could throw the fucking ball. Like that team could, it was the run and shoot. It was like, I mean, they could throw the ball, okay. So, okay. What UCLA did last night, they have not done to anyone or even come close to doing to anyone, and you even saw like Chip Kelly didn't even want to throw the ball. Like there was a point at which I was like, why aren't they trying to throw the ball? Like when they were down by 32 points, I'm like, why aren't they trying to throw the ball? They're not running the ball well. And then earlier in the game, there were dudes open, like the quarterback just couldn't hit him, and I was like, look, we've benefited however many times over the last few years by the fact that most quarterbacks in college football are bad. So it's like, okay, so we benefit from that. Tonight's going to be another night where we benefit from that. And then all of a sudden they open it up and he hits a rhythm and he's just like throwing darts all over the place to wide open dudes. And it was like, how are people so wide open? And I guess that's why I think people maybe are trying to rationalize this, is because the alternative is so scary and depressing. Like the alternative is, no. This defense could be historically bad and could be like Wolfian bad, Mike Bresky bad. Like that's the kind of defense we might have on our hands. And rather than confront that reality, people would rather be like, well, they got given a short field like 6 times and that's really hard.
Well, it's like you really just needed to a couple times make UCLA work for it. Like,
or kick a field goal.
Or kick a field goal. Like
even a couple times kick a field goal and we win the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's all they need to do. And they've done that before over the last, since Grinch came on and then Clay's. But now this game is just free runners, big chunks everywhere. Like it's fucking frustrating. So, they've for the SP Plus numbers, our offense because of that performance, went from 12th nationally to 4th nationally. Our defense went from 66th nationally to 80th nationally.
Yeah.
So we are that extreme. Like, this is probably this is Mike Leach's maybe best offense ever. Like, he's never been this efficient. Like, maybe early days at Texas Tech, but this is one of his best offenses he's ever had. And we thought it could be because of the receivers and because of Max Borghi, and Gordon's, better than we could have imagined. But on the other side, this is definitely the worst defense we've had since 2014, which was an awful, awful, awful defense and got Mike Bresky fired. So this is where we're at now. We have this two sides of, two extremes on either side of the ball, and that played out last night. Like, I remember listening on the Cougar Football Saturday cast, like, Kyle Scher was not sold on the defense, and we talked last week, and I wasn't totally sold on the defense yet. And
sure,
I sure as hell didn't expect this, but Kyle was saying, I think we'll win a lot of like 51 to 48 games, but this is what that was, except 67 to 63.
Lost.
Yeah, and we lost, and it was and it was even and it was I couldn't have imagined this like against this team.
No.
Like,
no, that's exactly it.
Like, against this team, like, this is not, and people, before the game, people were like, I hope they don't figure it out. Like, I don't think UCLA figured anything out. I think we just made it incredibly easy for them.
They didn't
because
figure out shit.
Their bread and butter is running the ball.
People are going to be shocked when they see what UCLA does not do over the next few games. They're going to be like, wait, oh, man, oh, shit. Like, UCLA is not going to do anything. And people are going to be like, wow, I guess they didn't figure it out. Yeah, I mean,
it's just because any quarterback in college level, in a Pac-12 level, can hit open receivers when they're open receivers when he's not being pressured.
When he's not being pressured, exactly. Yeah, it's,
like if he has a scholarship at the FBS level, like if you can hit open receiver, and that's what he had.
So let me ask you a question: how are you feeling about Tracy Claeys right about now?
Yeah,
we were ready to anoint him the god of defensive coordinating after last year, and
I mean they got I don't know, they got fooled here. Like I mean UCLA must have just been doing shit. I mean I keep saying USC because that would have been much more believable. UCLA just I don't know, they were totally unprepared for them to even apparently throw the ball once.
Right.
Like it's, and they just, I don't know, like under Grinch, and maybe part of this was like guys like Mataafa and Equale and maybe last year's guys like Comfort. We always got pressure. That was one of the best things. Biggest thing, like I think we're close to leading the nation in sacks 2 years ago. And so, last year,
and part of that was Logan Tago and Frankie Louvu playing defensive end also.
Right. But, I mean, it just seemed like guys like Ron Stone and, I thought Will Rogers was good enough. But like
Willie Taylor.
And, it's just.
Where are those guys?
Yeah, like, what are they? Why aren't they in the backfield? Like, what the fuck is Lamont
Where's
McDougal?
Nnamdi Aguayo? He's actually playing. Where is he?
Yeah, he's not. He had a couple pressures, I think, in that game, but it's just.
So this is my concern.
I don't even know what level of the defense you aren't worried about right now. Like Isom looked bad. Yeah. In coverage, Beekman doesn't look good. Like. It's like the guys we lost are glaring.
Oh yeah.
I know that Skylar Thomas had an interception, but Skylar Thomas is not playing well at the nickel.
No.
He's nowhere at the level of Hunter Dale and Shalom Lawani.
Nope.
Like and Jalen Thompson.
Nope.
It seems covered up a lot of shit, like more than we even realized. Like it just in the back end, and
I'm not convinced his presence would make a massive difference. I mean, maybe it would. Yeah,
I think it would have made at least 5 points of difference.
It would have made enough of a difference on Saturday. to win the game, I think. But I'm not convinced that like all of these problems magically disappear. And I guess like where I'm at right now is, I mean, we are 1/3 of the way through the season, man.
Well, the way I hate like, you hate like guessing the mindsets of the players.
Of course.
But you know what? This is a fucking podcast, so whatever.
Yeah.
Like the way that they seem to just, how the game just turned on a dime when we were at our highest point, just seems like they just said, fuck it. And that's leadership.
Yep.
And maybe that's what we're missing with Jalen Thompson and Peyton Pelor and Hunter Dale. Maybe it's to kick them in the ass. They're like, no, we're up, but we're playing a team that probably has more just like, basic on the basic talent level. Like they have better recruits. They, like they have the guys that they have talented enough players to exploit if we're not trying. Like if we're not putting in our 100% effort.
WSU is not and will never be good enough to coast against anyone, really.
And they had to have. Like it just doesn't. That's coaching and that's leadership. And and if you're a coach and you lose your top leaders, like you have to figure out a way to fix that. Like you have to step in. Your coaches have to step in. Your position coaches, and it's just it's so fucking frustrating. Like God, now I'm getting mad. The longer we talk, the madder I'm getting.
Well, Mark Sandritter put out an idea on Slack, which I thought was actually a really good one. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, that kind of makes a lot of sense, or at least it seems very plausible. And I even kind of thought about it to another level. So he put in, maybe we really miss Ken Wilson, the outside linebackers coach who went to Oregon. And I kind of thought, well, I mean, how much difference can a linebackers coach make? But I really kind of started thinking about it even a little more this way. Well, first of all, Grinch's style was very hands-on. He was on the sideline. And that's just during games, and during practice. He was out there, very visibly coaching. Even as defensive coordinator. And obviously Ken Wilson was there for all of that. And then, Grinch leaves, Clays takes over. His style is very different. Like he's not out there actively coaching. He's not on the sidelines. Like his strength is not necessarily as a teacher. It's as a schemer and a game planner. And he relies on his assistants to kind of, implement and teach and all of that stuff. And not saying there's anything wrong with that or that it's bad. Because, there's people have a lot of success both ways. People do what they do. They are who they are, and that's fine. But, I think maybe there's something to this idea that Ken Wilson kind of helped bridge that gap between Grinch and between Clays and sort of smoothed over some of those, teaching elements, those learning elements, kind of all that stuff. And now that he's gone, maybe that really is sort of the last straw in terms of that connection between what the defense was and what it's going to be. And, somebody floated the idea that, Clays is trying to shape it into his own thing. And I'm like, maybe, but then what does that say about him as a coach? If 4 games in, he's trying to do his thing and it's a total failure. Like I am way, way, way down on Mr. Clays right now. And I wish I wasn't, but man, we are 4 games into this thing and I've seen zero improvement. And I thought, last week they were kind of working a few more kinks out, the competition level went up and they were, it was okay. And they, stood up in the second half and they were pretty good for the second half. But, if you really look at all 4 games on the whole, and considering that this was objectively the worst thing you could ever see, 50 points in a half, 50 points in one half. I'm just anyway, if it's that,
not even
then,
a half, it was a quarter and a half.
Yeah,
like
a quarter and a half. Yeah,
it was
that's even a better way to put it. It was
like
less than a quarter and a
left.
half because
Yeah,
there was
it was
like
less than
6
a quarter.
minutes left in
Yeah.
the third quarter when it started. So okay, so you're kind of left with really, I think, only three options. Okay, so if you number one option is what we said, that Ken Wilson was really a big deal. Okay, fine. Another option is that Alex Grinch just recruited super shitty players, and that's what Tracy Claeys was left with, and so he's left trying to make lemonade out of a bunch of lemons, and that's very sad for him because those players are really terrible. Or Tracy Claeys is doing a Mike Bresky level job of coaching this year. Like I don't know how there are other options than that. I mean, maybe you can think of one, but I really thought about it, and I'm like, either the players stink or the coaching job is horrible. Like, it's one or the other. And right now I'm leaning towards the coaching job is horrible because I see guys on the field who seem to have regressed. Like Jihad Woods looks like a worse player. And maybe that's just because he's not playing next to Peyton Pallure anymore. I mean, I don't know, but he looks worse. Defensive linemen look worse. I mean, Willie Taylor was, a terror on quarterbacks, and he, and again, maybe that's because he's not playing next to Taylor Comfort anymore. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. And then pretty much the whole half the secondary, the two of the starting safeties are guys that Claeys recruited. So they're JUCO guys, I mean,
that's the thing.
I don't know what else to say. I mean,
even if you
they
just
look
want
horribly coached.
Yeah, if you just want to say it's just a talent thing, well, that's on the coaches too.
Yeah.
Like, they're the ones bringing in the players.
They look horribly coached,
and we're not we're not in fucking. That we're so deep into this, like, it's not an excuse. There's no excuse for having bad players anymore.
Right.
This is not fucking 2009 where it's like, well, we're a little WSU and it's tough. We don't have anyone, don't even want to play for us. No, we've had good, we've had a above average to average to above average defenses for 4 years in a row going on now, or we had for 4 years in a row, and that coupled with the offense, in the 2017 we had a very good defense, which when our offense took a dip helped pick that up. Now we've regressed back to the level that ruined what was an otherwise amazing offensive season in 2014.
Yep.
And that's the fear now.
Right. It's 100% the fear. This
looks like the best offense we have seen at WSU since 1997. And this is why you said, people rationalize it because they can't. If the defense is this bad,
right, then
we're gonna win maybe 6 games,
right?
And that's
less,
because honestly, when we've talked about it, you had to temper expectations even with how good you thought the offense was, and if the defense could be average, because the schedule is tough. After this was our we have a fucking killer stretch coming up right now. We go to Utah. We go to Arizona State, Colorado at home, go to Oregon, go to Cal. That's the next 5 games.
Yep.
If you saw what happened last night, the only game that you expect to win, that you feel like maybe Cougs would be over 50% to win, is Colorado.
It's Colorado, which, by the way, just beat Arizona State.
Exactly. Actually, I didn't even know that. I haven't even looked. I was in my own little bubble, man.
Understandable.
I have not even looked at any of the football scores from after maybe. I think we watched. It's funny. We watched UCF lose to Pitt, and we're laughing.
We're like, "Yay, we're moving up in the polls."
Yeah, and now I'm like, I just anything not purple. I just feel like I'm never gonna. I don't want to laugh at them anymore because I'm just I'm just so fucking pissed. And you know what sucks is I don't really scroll through Twitter. I'll tweet during the game, a few, but I don't scroll through Twitter to see what other people are tweeting because I don't want to kill my phone.
Yeah.
But now Twitter does that thing where if they show the tweets to you, so today when I'm scrolling through Twitter when I get home, I get to see everyone's misery from yesterday again that I didn't see yesterday.
How exciting.
So fun to relive. I'm like,
looks like you missed this, Craig. Let's
yeah,
make sure you see it.
Make sure you remember. You remember that horrible time you had yesterday? Let's
look at what all your
together.
friends were doing last night at 11 o'clock.
I know. It's so fun.
Oh, my God. All right. Hey, we need to take one more break. And then I feel like we need to give the offense its proper due because we've complained enough about that.
And I do have to. I have to mention the beer I'm drinking at some point.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a break.
Someone on Twitter. Hold on. Patrick Corn. He said he was only going to listen for the beer section. So.
Oh dear God, he had to wait a long time.
Cornwell 09. So I told him we're 45 minutes deep. We'll have the timestamp for you, Patrick. So it'll be fine.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, so yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into the offense, and yeah, we'll take a break.
All right. And we're back. Let's talk offense because that did not suck.
No, yeah, obviously
maybe it's good to follow. Maybe it's good to finish with this.
The 6 turnovers is, that was bad. That was their contribution to the tragedy.
And it was one legit bad turnover, and then 5 like fluky ass piece of crap turnovers.
Yeah, particularly the fumbles. One was not a turnover like that.
Actually, I would say 4 fluky ass because the last one is a strip sack. Okay, that's not really fluky, but
so the other first, 4, not the first one, but the first fumble, the first. So Roderick Fisher, that was
totally down.
He was down, and they should have blown the whistle. He's stacked up against
his forward progress was completely stopped.
Like that was embarrassingly bad.
That's
that
the
they reviewed it, and we're watching. We're all watching. We're like, yeah, he's down. Like his knees down, his elbows down. Like he's down. No, whatever. But anyways, yeah. Anthony Gordon threw 9 fucking touchdown passes.
9.
They put up 720 yards. Yeah. They averaged 8.8 yards a play. Like Borghi broke off a huge run and a huge catch. Like he had a 50+ yard run and a 60+ yard catch. He is amazing. Anthony Gordon is amazing. Holy shit. Like, yeah, it's to the point where he has started so well. Fans were getting grumbling, like when we had drives when we missed a couple passes.
Yeah.
It's like he was 41 of 61 for 9 touchdowns, 570 yards and 2 picks. Like 9 touchdowns. That's ridiculous. That's video game. That's a video game. Like that's stupid.
Yeah.
Like if you'd be having a good day on NCAA football if you got 9 touchdown passes in one game.
It was only 9.3 yards per attempt though, Craig, which was like 4 yards less per attempt.
Anthony Gordon threw 4 games in the air raid offense.
Yeah.
Is 6th in the country in yards an attempt.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That never happens in the air raid.
Well, and this is the thing. So, like, people have to understand, and if they do, great. If they don't, here's the thing you want to understand. Like, when you watch the offense, so much of the air raid is short throws, right? I mean, it's because you're going to you're trying to make the defense defend the entire field. So, in order to necessarily do that, some of your throws need to be short and horizontal. Like, that's necessary. You have to do that. And those short horizontal throws most of the time don't go for a long run unless you're throwing to Max Borghi. But we've seen it the last few years, thrown to James Williams, thrown Jamal Morrow. I mean, it's like that's what happens, right? You dump it off to the running back, you get your 5 yards, whatever. Well, that's going to bring down your yards per attempt. To be throwing the ball 50 to 60 times a game and be up there in yards per attempt the way he is right now I mean, that is a throwback to a time when the air raid was new and nobody knew what to do with it.
Yeah, there was they didn't know how to defend it, so the runners would run.
They didn't know how to defend it. They didn't have the personnel. They didn't have, base nickel schemes where they could.
Yeah, that little 5-yard mesh throw would turn into a 30-yard play all the time because they didn't know what to do about it. Yeah.
Right. And so the environment now is not that environment, and to do what Gordon is doing it's unbelievable. And I mean, what we did to UCLA is on par with what Oklahoma did to
And UCLA coming in was, it was like,
it's crazy.
Not a bad defense, like an average defense. Yeah, so Gardner Minshew, just for reference, was 67th in yards per play last year, 7.2 yards per attempt, 7.2. And before that, the year before that, Falk had his worst go, and I think he was like at 6.7 or something. So that you'd like 7 to 8 yards an attempt is more what you'd expect out of like an air raid quarterback because of the short throws and all that. But he's over 10 right now.
Yeah,
and he's played 2 defenses with better athletes and one defense that's pretty decent, like an average defense, and still shredded them. And if it wasn't for some like crazy fumbles, they would have gotten a fucking 80 points.
Right.
Like, and it was so good. The offense was so good. And that stretch in the second quarter and the start of the third quarter was just dominant.
Yep.
Like I don't like, they just 42 points in a quarter and a half. So they pretty much went on a run like that UCLA. They already had done the run that UCLA did. Like, so it was like, really, if you break the game down, it was like each team making a run. Like, and they just did it last.
Like basketball.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the score that we had at the end too, being a basketball score.
Yeah, I hope Kyle Smith gets a W 60
then he beats UCLA 67-63.
Yeah, just to reverse it. But, no, we'll play UCLA in basketball this year, and it'll probably be in the low 60s.
Yeah, I mean with us with Kyle Smith and then with Mick Cronin, like it's
it could be in the 50s.
That game's going to be low scoring. It's possible. Yeah. It's
this offense is it's just they're
they
fourth
gave the ball away 6 times
and they still
scored 63 points. People are not appreciating that enough, and I understand why. I totally understand why. I'm not like scolding people over it. I'm not like, what's the matter with you or anything like that. I 100% get it. I totally get it. However, I am going to bang the damn drum and be like, they gave it away 6 times and they still scored 63 points. They still scored 63 points. Anthony Gordon threw for 9 damn touchdowns. 9 touchdowns. 9.
It's a Pac-12 record, by the way.
I mean, my God, this is insane right now what they are doing. As we talked about earlier, my biggest fear is your biggest fear, which is that it's going to get wasted. And that this is going to be the thing I actually said that in my column because we're apparently like have hive mind going on. But it's like the immediate reference that came up to me was 2016 Texas Tech with Cliff Kingsbury and Patrick Mahomes. And it's like Mahomes is, thrown for, 5,000 yards. And they went 5-7, I think. I think it was 5-7, because they had a defense that kept giving up 60 points, I'm terrified that's what's going to happen here.
I think last year WSU finished around like 15th or 12th or 15th, like in SP plus, which factors in efficiency and explosiveness. And usually it's the explosiveness that WSU gets dinged on in that measurement.
Right.
Bill Connolly has upped how much he factors in efficiency. So that's helped us move up the ratings a bit. But so last year, we all know how good that offense was we felt how good that offense was last year. They were 12th and 15th. WSU right now is 4th in SP plus. Like, that's insane. Like the fourth most efficient plus explosive offense in the country.
Yep.
Like that's just not like, you don't expect that
and
out
that's
of the air raid at this point.
That's opponent adjusted too.
Yeah,
like,
so
we need to make that clear to people.
Yeah,
like
it's not just like just because we've been running over bad defenses. They get
the
dinged.
Degree to which
they get dinged for playing the bad defenses.
Right.
Like because the defense is bad. Like it's funny, UCLA's SP numbers were crazy. Like their defense and offense completely flipped their rankings. Like I think they were 89th in offense and now they're 52nd. and then they were 60 like second in defense, and now they're like 88th or something. Like it's crazy
because of us.
Because of
and Oklahoma too, but
it's wild. Like it's the offense is insane, and Max Borghi is, I don't know what, the best running back we've had since who? Jerome, but he's
maybe.
Well, definitely since Jerome. Like I don't know. Like he's the best running back that Leach has had.
Oh, for sure.
Like he definitely is. And we've
I don't think that's particularly close.
He's had some good ones.
Yeah, I mean, Booby was good.
And
like
and
a thoroughly,
Jamal Murrow was really good. Gerard Ricks was good, but
Morrow
Max isn't.
Yeah,
Max adds a level of explosiveness that none of those guys had.
Well, we watched
the top
him
level
outrun,
speed. Like
we watched him outrun Houston last week,
and he did
and
that.
Then he did it.
That was
again.
incredible.
And then he did it again.
There, at no point did you think he was going to score a touchdown at that until he just ran by the last
the UCLA
defender.
player was like, "Whoa, where'd he go?" He was not prepared for that level of speed.
Yeah, he is the most explosive running back that we've had since Jerome Harrison for sure.
Yeah,
and he's so dynamic in what he can do out of the backfield, catching the ball, running the ball. Hell, he had a 56-yard run on a 3rd and 13.
Yep.
Like,
I was like, they're handing it off. Oh, there he goes. All right. Okay. I guess it's all right to hand the ball off.
If he really is doing the run checks.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, Gordo.
Yeah, Gordo.
Give me the ball.
I got this, dude.
I got it. It's 3rd and 13, but I got it. Oh, and he did.
Yeah.
Like, he's just, if you give him an inch, it's 20 yards. Like, 20 yards are covered. He's so fast. Like, he's so fast. And we talked about how you don't see our running backs get that sort of, like, run. But he's so fast that he, even if the safeties are back, he just runs past them. Like, it's crazy. He's so good. Anthony Gordon is having a season that we just couldn't even imagine.
Right.
Like, it's insane. We've played 4 games. He has 1,894 yards and 21 touchdowns.
Yeah, so how about
4
this?
games.
He's averaging 473.5 yards per game. That is number 1
by
in the country by nearly 100 yards a game.
Also, how surprised are you? How funny is it that LSU, Joe Burrow, is the second the next one?
But, I mean, here's another one for you, though. Like, he's also number 4 in quarterback rating.
Yeah, and then, like I said, number 6 in yards.
Like, he's not just like...
Number 1 in touchdowns, obviously.
He's not just piling up crazy amounts of yards. Like, he's 21 touchdowns.
He's being efficient. Like, he's being efficient and explosive.
He's leading the country in touchdowns. Like, it's nuts, man. It's
this offense is nuts. And
absolutely bonkers.
Figure your shit out, Tracy Clay's in the defense, because
please, for the love of God,
it's already ruined one game, and that's we've seen teams in the Mike Leach era have bad early losses, come back, have a really good season.
Yep,
that can totally happen. And I get all you people that are like, it's only one game, blah blah blah. Just let us be fucking mad.
Yeah.
Stop telling me that I can't be mad about this game.
Go out and beat Utah, and I'll be a lot less mad.
Exactly. Like, just
hold Utah to 40 points so that we can win, and I'll be less mad.
And if your inclination is to look at your fellow fan and be like, don't be mad, it's just one game. Shut up. That was horrible. That was that was just awful to experience.
Yep.
And let us be mad about it, because it was 49 to fucking 17. Like, we should have won the game. Like, whatever. Like, and then you had to sit there and watch.
And y'all are going to walk into work tomorrow or today. You're going to listen to this on Monday. So you're going to walk into work today.
And your Husky friends.
And all the people there are going to be like, wow, what happened, huh? You're like...
And then you're going to... Then
already dreading that shit.
If you have not felt the anger, and you're one of those people telling people, just wait until you have to deal with that crap.
Yeah, wait until that Jack Husky.
It was happening immediately.
You guys really couged it, huh?
It was happening immediately for me. Like, I was getting it on my phone like immediately, and I'm like, this is the worst time for you to do this. Like, Like, I'm ready to fight someone right now. So, and I'm a very passive person.
Well, and I have one raincoat right now, and it's a crimson colored Cougar raincoat made by Columbia. And I was going to the Seahawks today, and it was raining, and I was like, not wearing it. Not wearing it. And it's not because I was embarrassed or ashamed. I love my school. I will 100% wear my Coug gear probably to school tomorrow, just as a big, like, screw you to everybody. But I was not about to walk into a stadium full of Jack Husky 12s and listen to whatever it was that they were going to throw at me. So I did.
Yeah, today, when I go to Pullman, I only bring like Coug shit. So like I only had like Cougar hats, Cougar shirts to wear, Cougar hoodies. Like, and so I was driving back, and I just don't want anyone to ask me about the game at any time I stop. I listen to my beer podcasts. Good job. The WC Football Blog guys got the Coug Talk podcast out. Like, fuck, I was driving. I got the notification at like it was like 10 in the morning or something, like, or like 11 or 12. Like, I was like, that's crazy. Like, we could not have done that podcast this morning, Jeff. Like, no. I didn't, neither of us wanted to do this. No. Like, and we're just getting it done for you, our listeners, who just apparently wanted to be mad again. Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, God bless the guys over at, Sean and Cougar Sutra over at, the Wazoo Football Blog, because they actually recorded an episode this morning, and I'm like,
that's what I said. Yeah,
holy shit.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it. I mean, obviously, and obviously, Sutra's in the Eastern time zone,
right?
So he was up till almost 3 a.m. watching that shit.
Watching that disaster. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. I don't know. You want to talk about your beer?
Yeah, let's.
You better talk about your beer.
Yeah.
1 hour and 10 minutes in.
It's a pretty interesting beer. I should. So I wanted something strong, like something very strong to get through this. It's already gone, by the way. But so it's called just the Tick, but it's actually just and then like a check mark. So there's a story to this beer. It's from Prairie Artisan Ales. Great brewery. If you've not had them, they distribute quite a bit through Shelton Brothers, I believe, up here. And you can try a lot of their offerings off the shelf in a lot of places. They do a great job with barrel-aged beers. You've probably seen their bomb stout, like bomb or barrel-aged birthday bomb. They have a lot of variants off that. But this is a stout aged in bourbon barrels with coconut, vanilla, and marshmallow. And so what the importance of this beer is actually, Prairie has like a bottle club where they have special releases called Prairie Dogs. And what they've done the last couple years is give their members an opportunity to purchase a barrel, fill it with a beer, and then add up to 3 adjuncts of their choosing. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So what this beer is, there was a guy in the Seattle area. His Instagram, his name's Jason, and his Instagram is a beer Instagram. It's called Ticks and Picks, because we like to say when you try a hard to find rare beer, you tick it. Like you just do it just to tick it. Like you tick it. Like so he's Ticks and Picks. And so we actually submitted the name. So he basically put it out to a group of us, in, a Seattle group, beer group, and said like, who wants in on this? Because the barrel like is $4,000, so he's not buying that by himself. So basically, he opened up 20 spots. Split it 200 each. We ended up I split it with another guy. He's another Coug that lives in Tacoma, another big beer nerd. We split I got a share right away, and then he's like, oh, he's like, was anyone willing to split their, share of the bottles? And so I, I ended up doing like a half a share. So I got like 8 or 9 bottles or whatever for $100, pretty much on the price point of any barrel-aged stout. And Prairies are, elite barrel-aged stouts generally. So they did that. So we did this, and then we picked, we did voting, and we picked the the adjuncts to put in, the coconut, vanilla, and marshmallow. We came up with the name. One of the first names that was suggested was, because it's an Oklahoma brewery, like some people, we were trying to come up with a Sonics reference. And someone said Alton Listens Tears. And oh my God, I pushed so hard for that one. I'm
That's
like,
fantastic.
that is so good. But we didn't get that one. Like, because people were
come
like,
on.
people were
Like
worried
they
that no
didn't
one
get
would
it,
get
or
the
what?
reference. Like most of the people, I think about half our group of like 35 guys got it. But like most of the people, like, but they were like, that's kind of obscure. People won't know. But I'm like, who cares? Every
Like,
time I drink the
you
beer,
know,
I
that's
will
all
be
that matters.
super happy.
That's right.
But we ended up we went with Just the Tick because as an homage to his Instagram name, Ticks and Pics. They wouldn't let us do Just the Tick.
Why not, Craig?
Who knows? I don't know. I have a totally clear and youthful mind that would never that I just can't fathom what that would be. But anyway, so they ended up. So we asked them to do just the like check mark, and so they actually put the check mark on the bottle, which you can see on our Instagram or on our Twitter. So they put the check mark on the bottle, so it's just the check mark. I didn't get involved. I was unable. I think I was going to a WSU game, but they did. So a bunch of the guys in the group, they got together and they actually made some so they give you like an option of like 4 different labels, and so we picked this one with like it's like a hand with like finger, like, so we were like ticking the hands. That's where we got on that one. But a bunch of the guys did some custom labels for it where they just called it the Tick, and they have like the Tick, the comic book character, or the cartoon.
Right.
Have you ever seen that, the blue guy?
Yep,
So they made this
I love
really
the Tick.
Yeah, they made this. It used to be a cartoon. Now they have like a live action on Amazon. It's really good. Yeah, it's it's really good. I recommend checking that out. But they did that, and then the double white and blue scented wax on it too. I didn't get any of those bottles. I should have given them to a friend so that he could have done them for me. But so I have the boring old Prairie issued label, but some of my friends have the cool Tick. So if you go on Untapped and look up and they actually on Untapped use the check mark emoji, you can see the beer, and then you can see the pictures of the people that did the bottles. It's really cool bottle. Like, it's really impressive. It's funny when you get a group of like 35 people, there's always someone that can do anything in there, like there's always like someone that's good at graphic design or whatever, and so you get these really creative people, and so they made this really cool label for it. So it was really fun. I actually we were the second to last group. There was like 212 different barrels. We were the second to last group to pick up our barrel because a bunch of things kept falling through. Eventually, we just had a guy send them to all of us, and then he sent it to my friend in Tacoma. And it's funny because we live so close, like we just like never got around to him giving. So it's funny. We were both in line for a beer release in Seattle on Friday, and he brought the beers and gave them to me then. And so they're months old now. So some of the coconut I think has faded a little bit, but man, it's strong. It's a lot of barrel cask strength. It's 14%. That's probably led to me getting a little angrier as we go, dropping more F-bombs as we've been going, taking down this. It's only a 12-ounce bottle, so it's not too bad. But yeah, so it's pretty damn good. Prairie makes great barrel-aged stuff. Apparently all the coffee ones so I have another couple friends that the last 2 years they've gotten together like with this national beer group that they have, and they meet and they track down and try every single one of the different bottles. And last year it was like 75, but this year was 212. So they tried on one day between, I don't know, there was like 30 of them. They tried, or not 30, there was like 10 of them or something. They tried every single beer. Like all 212, 14%. They weren't all, so we had an option. You could do a stout agent bourbon barrels, a stout agent apple brandy barrels, or an imperial brown ale aged in bourbon barrels. So we went with the basic bourbon barrel stout because that was the safest. So it turned out the apple brandy ones got infected,
Oh, no.
So it sucks for them. So what they did, so what Prairie said is if you stick to our list of adjuncts, then we'll guarantee if it gets infected, we'll refund your money. But other people, like, they want to put, there's people like putting like Nutella and like peanut butter, like, or like Nutter Butters and shit like that in the beer, and they said you just have to buy it and give it to us, and we'll put it in there. We're not going to go buy it for you, but if you can buy X amount so we can put it in the beer, we'll put it in there for you. We're not going to guarantee it for you. But what happened with the apple brandy, it was something wrong with I believe the barrels or something, and so like almost every single one were infected, and so that'd be kind of, I was worried about that, with ours. It was really fun. Like, this has been a long process. And then, so this is my first time trying the beer, and I'm really excited about it. It's just really fun because it's got a cool story. I'm really happy I got in on the group, and we have a good, there's a good bunch of kind of a core group of good craft beer nerds. I've made a lot of friends through craft beer in Seattle. We got a good group, and it's growing. If you would have seen this Midnight Still variant release at Holy Mountain on Saturday, I got there 2 hours before or Friday, I got there 2 hours and 15 minutes before the release. I was roughly 200th in line. And people were behind us that got shut out. They sold out of their bottles, which admittedly wasn't very many. It was two per person. They had roughly 390 allocations. So, but they sold out, by like 1:30, basically as fast as they could process the beers. But yeah, but it's funny, and I go to those lines, I see all my friends that I've made, throughout the years, going to lines, going to shares and stuff. So it's great. So this was a nice example of one of the guys taking the thing that he had, and sharing it with the community, and we had a lot of fun with it. So
that's super cool.
It's really cool. I think it's a really cool thing that Prairie does. There's no other brewery that does that. They're big enough that they have the capacity to have 200 barrels where I could just be like, let's fuck around with them, whatever, so yeah, it's really cool. I hope we get the opportunity to do it again next year, because it was super fun.
That is cool.
But yeah, so Prairie Beer, definitely check them out. You're not going to find this beer unless you trade for it or something. Like, sorry, like, it's just not going to happen. There was one; it's a single barrel of beer, and they're mostly in the Seattle area. So whatever. So yeah, that's my beer, and now I'm feeling better.
Well,
just
awesome.
Talking about beer. That's what BA and
beer
I
always makes us happy.
BA and I did that. We talked about and BA and some others. We were just talking about politics. That's how bad it is when you're like, let's talk about politics instead.
And you and I both know that when you and BA talk politics, it can sometimes head down not the best road anyway. So
I don't know. It was pretty good. We were.
No, I'm sure it was. Like, it's just like, let's talk about this other extremely volatile thing, because it is definitely going to be better
than talking about that
than
football
talking
game.
about a fucking football game. So
yeah.
Oh,
usually we would just be reveling in the glory of Anthony Gordon, but and the fact that that's the worst. Like, it was just set up to be such a great day with Gardner Minshew.
The whole thing.
And we just fucking ruined it. We ruined it all.
Should have been. It should have
basically
been like
how the
Anthony
game
Gordon
ended.
Throws for 9 touchdowns, and Gardner Minshew watches Anthony Gordon break his record. And how cool is this? And now we're off to Utah.
Gardner Minshew's in jorts with fucking power thighs, like Jesus,
and a bolo tie.
For
some reason.
That dude is country to the core.
Yeah, he pretty much is.
Man,
he's from rural Mississippi.
Yeah, and he is all about it.
He is all about it. All right, man. Better days lay ahead, buddy.
Better days
are ahead.
Hey, you know what? Go out and beat Utah on Saturday, which we'll talk about this week once we lick our wounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, honestly, just a win in the next game will. We recovered from Portland State. We recovered. I don't think we've ever recovered from Cal, so we might not ever recover from this one. Actually,
I'm not sure.
But we'll. I don't know. This team is under Leach has shown some resilience in the past. So
they might do it again.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did it again.
I would not either.
Also, our offense is fucking amazing, and we'll win some games just because of that.
We got that going for us.
All right.
Go
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs, buddy.